A very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 16th edition of Marketing Conclave. This event is spread across 2 days with 4 parallel tracks and 50 plus knowledge sharing sessions. Thank you for joining us today at one of the oldest digital marketing event in India. I'm your host, Shivani Agarwal. On behalf of entire IAMAI team, welcomes you once again. Without any further ado, let's start off today. Here with us, we have our chief guest, Sri Prakash Javadekar, Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises, Government of India, and our esteemed speakers, Mr. Vivek Bhargava, CEO, Dan Performance Group, Dentsu Aegis Network, and co-chair, Digital Advertising Committee, IAMAI, and Mr. Anand Goenka, Executive Director, The Indian Express, and Chairman, Digital Advertising Committee at IAMAI. Over to you, Mr. Goenka, for delivering a welcome address to our wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Shivani. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me tremendous pleasure welcoming you to the 16th Annual Marketing Conclave. Especially warm welcome to our chief guest, Sri Prakash Javadekar. Prakash ji was very gracious. He didn't hesitate when I asked him to address us in the middle of what is clearly an unprecedented time for our country and our government. I'm very, very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that every one of us is inundated with information of how disastrous the pandemic has been for our respective companies and our economy. So I will restrict to sharing just one data point to give context to where our industry is today. Total advertising spends last year was 76,600 crores. It is likely to decline to 56,300 crores this calendar year. That's a 26% degrowth in ad spends when we entered the year projecting growth of over 10%. Now, as bothersome as all this sounds, I think through this unprecedented pandemic, there are a few things that we should remember to be grateful. The first is that before the pandemic and before the lockdown, this government has made significant progress in its flagship project. Today, by and large, the internet is reasonably accessible across the country. We see local police and municipalities have been efficiently communicating vital information such as traffic, weather, and containment zones real time on digital media platforms. The Arogya Setu app has kept us in urban India safe. Digital payments have overtaken credit card payments by miles. And I think the ultimate affirmation of Digital India that the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity is at the center of all government's welfare. The second thing that I think we have to be grateful for is the immense camaraderie and compassion our industry has had for each other. Whether it's our customers, our employees, our bosses, our competition, no matter where in the food chain our organization stands, there has been a tremendous sense of understanding and appreciation of each other's predicament. And I think we must pause and recognize it. The third thing that I think we should be grateful for is the eternal optimists, many of whom are young, idealistic, and are powering our industries, indeed our economies recovery. Whether it be in education or e-commerce, gaming or entertainment, these are digital natives, many of whom are IAMI members and are going to be speaking here today and tomorrow, who have shown the agility and used digital medium to find ways to reinvent their businesses and form long-lasting, meaningful direct relationships with their customers. Which is why if there's one major trend that I anticipate will emerge through this conference, is the fact that scale of production and mind of distribution aren't going to be enough. I anticipate that finding an authentic, credible, responsible voice for each and every brand is going to be just as critical to businesses. I think after witnessing 5 months of this pandemic, we find ourselves at a point in time where messaging and communication has never been more important. Content has never been less commoditized, and honest soul searching for a cause, a reason to be beyond the share of the customer's wallet, has never been more crucial for sustainability. And as the publisher of a fiercely independent news organization, I can share that our digital growth these past few months is just another testament to the audience's search and desire for original content from domain experts, told in an authentic way. Which is also why I believe that as the world waits for the vaccine, humanity's freedom falling at one end of the needle, never before has the Indian customer been as empowered as she is. The question is, how do we emerge as an industry that is truly democratized, less controlled by a few with disproportionate power? How do we rebuild our economy and our industry without subjecting ourselves to the whims of opportunistic short-term capital? And how do we retain India's inherent innovativeness, our business acumen, our most cherished talent of leaving little to nothing on the table? In a world where editorial curation of news and information has been replaced by algorithmically customized content, how do we ensure that we have empathy for the other point of view and that young Indians grow up wanting to converse curiously rather than argue combatively? How do we preserve culture when a generation of Indians will only be able to speak and hear their native languages but not read and write it? प्रकाश जी, क्योंकि आप एचआरडी मिनिस्टर रह चुके हैं, एक छोटी सी कहानी आपको शायद पसंद आएगी। दिल्ली का चुनाव का समय था, एजुकेशन मुद्दा पर खूब चर्चा हो रही थी, and I found myself deep inside one of Delhi's unauthorized housing colonies when I saw a uniformed 12-year-old school boy. And I asked him, has your school actually improved? और उसका जवाब आया कि हमें पढ़ने लिखने की जरूरत क्या है, गूगल तो हमारी आवाज पहचानने लग गई। On the business side, how does artificial intelligence deliver efficiencies in our economy without reducing job opportunities? The data is the new oil. Is the Indian citizens' data a sovereign asset? And as we witness deglobalization, such tectonic shifts in geopolitics, we hear that the great tech Cold War is warming up, that China and the United States will divvy up the world among themselves. Where do we figure in? How do we decide which side we should be on? Can we play both sides? And most importantly, how can we be a player on our own? These are just some of the questions that I think we will hear answers to over the course of the next 2 days. And what an incredible 2 days we have lined up for you. We will hear from giants in the industry who have built and run leading conglomerates like Marico Chairman Harsh Mariwala, Unilever Group CEO Nitin Paranjpe. We will hear from digital native founders such as Dream11's founder Harsh Jain, Times Internet Satyan Gajwani, Vote Audio's founder Aman Gupta. From the agencies, we will hear from leaders in our industry. WPP Global CEO Mark Reed, Dentsu Global's Brian Monahan. From India, Shashi Sinha, Ashish Hasim, Sam Balsara, Vishnu Mohan. And later tonight, a special after-hours session on the evolution of storytelling in India by best-selling author Anish Kumar. From the platforms, we will hear from Facebook India MD Ajit Mohan. We have a panel on audio, which is personally my favorite medium, with actor, producer, podcaster Neha Dhukia, and Spotify India head Amarjit Singh Kapur. From the news world, we will hear from Dainik Bhaskar, Girish Agarwal, and there are many. Now, before I invite the chief guest, I must thank my co-chair Vivek Bhargav, the granddaddy of performance advertising in India, for his passion and drive to provoke thoughtful conversation. Thanks to all the managing committee members and the board of advisors who spent a lot of time making these meaningful. I must thank Shubho and Gaurav, Latika, the incredible IMEI team who've been extremely efficient and pleasure to work with. And now to invite our esteemed chief guest, someone who we've had the pleasure of seeing active in public life for over 25 years. As publisher of a Marathi newspaper in Maharashtra, Lok Sabha, I have personally seen his journey maybe a little bit closer than some of you have, from BJP state leader in Maharashtra to a second term twin cabinet, 3 portfolio minister. We all saw his passion and sharp negotiation skills during the Paris Climate Accord in the last term. And today, the attention he's giving on ensuring rumors and misinformation don't spread faster than the pandemic itself is being admired around the world. We couldn't have asked for a better chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Honorable Minister K. Prakash.
Yes. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Vivek, and all others who have joined in for this very important inaugural session of marketing conclave organized by IAMAI on the theme of towards the tipping point, and also to share your guidance and inspiration in the post-COVID era. And I'm very happy that the digital advertising is the future, is actually the present. We must understand with the speed with which it is growing. Now, every 6 months or every day, the number having smartphone is increasing. It is now estimated that more than 600 million people in the country have, half the country has, practically every youth has a smartphone, access to the smartphone. And therefore, people are watching. And in earlier days, in my childhood, I used to experience that people used to believe in printed newspapers. So whatever is printed is true. So now whatever is communicated through WhatsApp is true. That's the change that has happened. But Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, ये सभी अब नए कम्युनिकेशन के माध्यम बने हैं। और इसलिए एडवर्टाइजिंग का आपने बताया कि 26% एडवर्टाइजिंग स्पेंड कम हुआ है ओवरऑल, लेकिन 26% कम होता है तो उसमें स्लोली बट श्योरली द डिजिटल कंटेंट एडवर्टाइजमेंट इज ग्रोइंग. At our end in government, we were never considering giving advertisements in digital platforms. But now this time we had to do a policy that yes, we will also give advertisement in digital media, because if a newspaper comes with limited edition, their digital edition is more popular many times. The digital content and the digital portals, digital newspapers is a new entity. और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है कि लोग बिलीव करते हैं. मेरा प्रॉब्लम वो है कि पीपल बिलीव विदाउट कंसिडरिंग, एंड दिस इज नॉट प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इंडिया अलोन. This disinformation campaigns occurred in at least 70 countries, a significant jump from 28 countries in 2017. So within 2 years, more and more countries are influenced by digital media. And what happens is, we have seen many stories, I will not recount it, but one WhatsApp message and the damage is done. Earlier in Press Information Bureau, we used to read the newspapers, we used to follow the channels, and if there is a need for clarification, every evening we used to issue a press release giving the corrections or the explanation. But now it is not, because if there is a one tweet in the morning and if you don't respond immediately, the damage is done. Even now the problem is it is speed of the light, and therefore if you don't respond immediately, there is a problem. And I think every organization in the world is taking note of it, because fake news, because I have been asked to speak on fake news, because I think earlier we used to discuss about paid news, but paid news is much mild than what fake news is. Fake news has a very potent power of disturbing the peace. The manipulation of public opinion over social media platforms has emerged as a critical threat to public life. Fake news has caused divisive social media campaigns, fanned separatist movements, intensified political conflicts. And the fake news campaigns across the world is lack of targeted legislation, lack of media literacy. This is new thing, media literacy, and awareness, and wider penetration of mobile and internet services, low cost of benefit ratio, low risk detection, anonymity, and plausible deniability. So these are all factors which impact. And therefore, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his address to Non-Aligned Movement (NAM) conference, raised the specter of fake news alongside terrorism and termed it as another deadly virus. World Health Organization has also termed the rise in fake news reporting post-COVID, because you are today essentially discussing the post-COVID situation. So WHO has also called it as infodemic. So this is really an important thing. Honorable Supreme Court, in its order dated 31st March 2020 in Alok Srivastava versus government, had observed that it is therefore not possible for us to overlook this menace of fake news either by electronic, print or social media. I have a background. My father was sub-editor in Marathi vernacular daily Kesari. So how important was the ethics in the newspaper industry also that time? I have seen that you will not print anything unsubstantiated. You will report the source from which you have got the information. Now, even I see news agencies now giving stories based on sources. And nobody knows which sources, because press has a freedom to get news from source and not report to anybody from what sources they have got the news. But now that has required on all of us in the form of fake news, where the one WhatsApp message can really change the whole narrative, not for the day, but because it sticks up immediately in the mind. Yes, ये ठीक होगा, ये सही होगा. तो ये आया है, बोले WhatsApp में आया है. अरे WhatsApp is not the gospel truth. But sometimes I feel now the latest gospel truth is about what appears in WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. That has become a gospel truth. So various countries are doing experiments. Singapore passed the Protection from Online Falsehood and Manipulation Act. It has come with the act, and which aims at to prevent communication of false statement of facts in Singapore and to enable measures to be taken to counteract the effects of such communication. Finland initiated an anti-fake news program comprising of media literacy. Because it's a small country, but they have started in that direction. Taiwan has also reformed its policy on education to include media literacy. Germany enacted a similar law to counter online hate speech. Similar bills have been introduced in other countries like USA and Brazil. In USA, as we know, it is the states which make their laws. A common feature of all such laws, measures, is that we demand greater accountability from the social media platform. And that is the issue. What happens with disinformation? Disinformation aims to weaken the basic structure of functioning democracy. For a vibrant democracy like India with a guaranteed fundamental rights, such as freedom of speech and expression, the challenge has been even graver, as disinformation threatens the basic idea of deliberate persuasion, which lies the foundation of democracy. This is democracy. You have to perceive, discuss, debate, and decide. That is how decisions are made, options are given. Now, in 2012, there were only 137 million internet users. Today, we have more than 600 million. So this will grow further. And now with BharatNet, all villages will also get Wi-Fi connectivity and direct internet also. So practically, and I have seen in villages, the rural download is more than the urban download for last 4 months. Rural download is more than the urban download. That is the phase in which we have entered. Even in COVID, we have seen many fake news about COVID, about any drug, about any new measures. And now I see you are a commercial entities gathered here. Anybody can defame your product by just sponsoring some fake narrative that, oh, that product is very bad, it is useless. But just to go with that, and the message is gone. To convince again back the customer is the most difficult thing. Spreading lies is more easy. Spreading disinformation is more easy because it has a spice. Normal news doesn't have the spice. So normal narrative attracts less than the fake news attracts. And therefore, everybody has to be really cautious. So what, in the ultimate analysis, we are definitely taking note of the fake news, and therefore we started one attempt in 2019 October, and that is PIB Fact Check Unit. We have now established our fact check units in all the states, and every day, every unit at least busts 2 or 3 fake news, and we stamp it as fake news, and that has gained a credibility in the eyes of people also. So this is what is happening all around. Fake news, what we decided when we formed the team, that it was a crack team, immediately taking note of a falsehood being spread and immediately counter it. If you counter it immediately, the time is the essence of the whole thing. But on a larger platform, we have to encourage the media literacy in the people. And therefore, how to spot fake news, these are the new lessons which we need to impart through education also. Consider the source. Click away from the story to investigate the site, its missions, and its contact information. Read beyond. Check the author. Do you quick search on the author? Are they credible? Are they not? Check out the date, because many times we are seeing on TV also now that this is the video purpose to 2016, but you are showing as it is happened yesterday. Check your biases. Consider in your own belief would affect your judgment. Read beyond. Headlines can be outrageous in an effort to get clicks, because now there is a growing trend that headline is something different and the content is different of the news. So that's also a falsehood. Supporting sources. Supporting sources, click on those links, determine if information given actually supports the story or not. Is it a joke? Sometimes people play prank on you, and ask the experts if you are not sure of what is true and what is not. That we need to do, because fake news at times therefore are called junk news. Alternative facts or hoax news, a form of news consisting of deliberate disinformation or hoaxes spread. At best, we can say fake news as those news stories that are false. The story itself is fabricated with no verifiable fact, sources, or quotes. Sometimes these stories may be propaganda that is intentionally designed to mislead the reader, or may be designed as clickbait written for economic incentive. So, universe of fake news is much larger than simply false news stories. False news stories are different, and fake news is more potent and more dangerous. What can be the types of misinformation or disinformation? There may be satire. Plain satire, there is no issue. Misleading contents, fabricated content, factually incorrect content, providing imposter source, no connection between headline and the text, false or fabricated context, manipulated context. So all these are various types of fake news we are encountering in the initial stage of this digital literacy spread, and therefore लोगों को हमें बताना चाहिए कि don't believe in fake news. Find out whether the news which you get through your social media is true or not. Pause and think. Even if somebody pauses and thinks, he can understand that this must be a fake news. So don't spread, because that is also online. Online spread is most potent weapon. और therefore ये भी काम करना चाहिए कि लोगों को शिक्षित करना चाहिए। और हम भी विचार कर रहे हैं कि डिजिटल कंटेंट में कुछ भी छापो, ऐसा थोड़ा ही ना चलेगा। जो प्रेस के लिए, कंटेंट के लिए प्रेस काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया है, टीवी के कंटेंट पर किसी की शिकायत है तो टीवी मीडिया ने अपना खुद का तैयार किया है मैकेनिज्म अंडर द chairmanship of retired justice of High Court. So they have their own mechanism to solve the grievances so much, but there are no mechanism. We have an IT Act 2000, but that time nobody has imagined also that this will be the spread of the digital media. It will become the alternative newspaper, and it will become the fake news podium, and therefore that law has not provided for the safety measures to deal with such situation. और इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि ये फेक न्यूज का, मुझे आपको नया डेंजर बताया मैंने। फेक न्यूज आज पॉलिटिशियन करके हमें तकलीफ दे रही है, लेकिन कल आपके बिजनेसेस को भी तकलीफ देगी, क्योंकि कोई भी आपके प्रोडक्ट के बारे में एक खबर पहुंचानी है स्पाइस लगा के कि आपका प्रोडक्ट गया, फिर आप कितना रिपेयर करते बैठोगे, नहीं कर पाओगे। और इसलिए ये एक न्यू पोटेंट वेपन है, और अगर लोग उसका अच्छा उपयोग करेंगे तो अच्छा है स्प्रेड के लिए, लेकिन अच्छा उपयोग नहीं करेंगे। अभी कल मैंने 2-3 उदाहरण केवल देता हूं। अभी कल मैंने एक व्हाट्सएप मैसेज देखा, उसमें लिखा था नई शिक्षा नीति भारत सरकार की आई है, वो प्राइवेटाइजेशन की कमाल है, और 15 लाख स्कूल जो सरकारी स्कूल है उसकी जमीन सरकार बेचेगी और 1.25 लाख करोड़ रुपए कमाएगी। अब बोलो हद है। अच्छा, अनसस्पेक्टिंग ऑडियंस को आप कुछ भी बताओ, लोगों को बेसिकली मालूम नहीं होता कि 15 लाख स्कूल है, बेसिकली मालूम नहीं होता उसकी इतनी जमीन होती है, और जमीन की इतनी कीमत है। कौन बेचने निकला है, कोई तथ्य है, कुछ है, आधार कुछ भी नहीं, लेकिन बोलते जाना। एक दिन एक बड़े चैनल ने दिखाया कि सरकारी नौकरों का 30% तनख्वाह कटेगा। अरे क्यों ऐसा अनावश्यक? कहीं प्रेस कोई डिसीजन नहीं, कोई सुगबुगाहट भी नहीं, कोई कुछ नहीं, और सीधे अपनी न्यूज चला दी। लोगों के तुरंत मन में आता है कि ये सरकार तो अपनी तनख्वाह काट रही है, नहीं काटे तो भी हमें गाली पड़ेगी। तो ये एक नया डेंजर मैं देख रहा हूं, और इस तरह से कितने उदाहरण रोज होते हैं। बहुत सारे फेक न्यूज हम अभी बस्ट करते हैं, उसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी आई है। लोगों को ये समझाना चाहिए, आवश्यक कानूनी उपाय भी करने चाहिए, और एक मीडिया को खुद तय करना चाहिए कि हमारी लक्ष्मण रेखा क्या है। मैं सेल्फ रेगुलेशन में बिलीव करने वाला आदमी हूं, तो सेल्फ रेगुलेशन के आधार पे आप ही इंडस्ट्रियल बॉडीज और आप जो डिजिटल मीडिया की दुनिया है वो खुद तय करेगी। क्या जैसे आपका आस्की है, एडवर्टीजमेंट करते हैं, एडवर्टीजमेंट में कोई गलत क्लेम करता है तो कोई शिकायत कर सकता है, इनडिसेंट है, कुछ भी है तो शिकायत कर सकता है, आस्की उसका समाधान कुछ न कुछ निकालती है। तो इस तरह से सेल्फ रेगुलेशन की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए, नहीं तो ये मीनास और ज्यादा डेंजरस होगा, और उसका परिणाम हमें सबको भुगतना पड़ेगा। इट इज नॉट लिमिटेड टू पॉलिटिकल सेक्टर। आज आप हंस रहे होंगे कि चलो पॉलिटिशियन की क्या ये हो रहा है, लेकिन ये सब पर आने वाला है, सभी क्षेत्रों में आने वाला है, और इसलिए हमें सबको सावधान रहकर इस फेक न्यूज इज मोर डेंजरस देन द पेड न्यूज, और उसका सामना करने के लिए हमें तैयार रहना पड़ेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Mr. Bhargava for the thank you note.
Thank you, sir. I would like to give a special thanks to our chief guest, Shri Prakash Javadekar. Uh, I think it was very insightful, the dangers of fake news and solutions of how we can prevent ourselves from being influenced by it. I would also like to thank my dear friends and advisors to this conference, which is my co-chair Anant, Aditya, Anika, Bharat, Manish, Prasad, Puneet, Singhvi, as well as Gupt, and Rajan and Tushar. We have 150 plus speakers in this conference and delegates from all around the world. I would like to thank all of them too. India in the last 1.5 decades has sort of seen this rapid adoption of digital technologies. It has happened because of affordable data services, availability of very cheap smartphones, as well as feature phones. And I think COVID-19 is going to accelerate this digital adoption. In the next 15 years, Lenin had said that sometimes decades go by and nothing happens, and a few months, a few weeks, decades happen. COVID-19 is accelerating digital adoption in India. As our chief guest said, that we have almost reached 50% internet users in the country. That is the second largest user base of internet in the entire world. A lot of awesome government initiatives such as direct benefit transfer, delivery of social services by the government are spearheading this digital transformation of the nation. And we are very thankful for it. I would like to point out here that in our goal of being a $1 trillion economy, I think if you take the last 30 years, a lot of wealth was created by software services companies. But I was giving a talk, and I think I also heard Mr. Mohandas Pai talk about it, where he spoke about that even the best companies in the country who are very proud of, they are worth, let's say, $50 billion with 250,000 people. But if you take the best product companies in the world, like Microsoft, they are 150,000 people and they're worth $1,600 billion. I think the next 20, 30 years are going to be for software services companies out of India. The SaaS companies are going to go global, and they are the ones who are going to create the next generation of entrepreneurs and wealth creators for the nation. So I think in this quest of having this $1 trillion or $5 trillion goal over by 2030, I think digital startups and ecosystems is going to play a very, very critical role. The digital advertising was expected to grow from 23% to 40% by 2025. But I think that I feel was pre-COVID. I think because of COVID, I think it may grow to 60%, 70%, because a lot of acceleration that I see is happening in front of our eyes. Earlier, there used to be these internet users, and we would call them that age 25 to 35 male. But now when you look at internet users in India, there are grandparents who are doing Zoom calls. There are people who are at all sections, genders of the society, who are equally using the internet and adopting digital. So I think the internet population will mirror the population of the country. Similarly, on social media, I think the same kind of growth is going to happen both in urban India and rural India. Our chief guest mentioned that rural India has actually had more downloads in the last 4-5 months as compared to the urban India. And I think internet adoption the same way is happening across the entire country. And that's what's actually going to sort of create this wave of digital adoption. I feel that this goal that we have of creating a $1 trillion economy out of India, digital is going to play a very, very critical role. And I'm very, very proud of the initiatives the government has taken to make all these initiatives accelerate the digital adoption of India. I would like to also, at the end, thank our partners in this conference, which is Z5, Infobip, Brandwagon, Flipkart, Jagran New Media, Telesign, ShareChat, Blink, and Nielsen. Of course, I would also want to thank our members, supporters, and friends of Marcom. This conference is a tireless effort of the IMAI team. We have been able to get probably one of the best speaker lineups that I've seen in any conference. Global CEOs, Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Prakash Javadekar as a minister. I think it's just been a phenomenal experience of getting this team together. And I've seen that there have 3,500 plus delegates who have registered for this conference. So it's awesome that all of you have taken out this time to attend this conference and learn from it. Marketing is going to reach a tipping point because of COVID-19 and digital adoption in the country. And I hope that all of us learn some things, that how we can become more competitive companies and how do we make this a digital nation. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anand. And over to you, Shwan.
Thank you, speakers, for such an insightful session. Thank you to our wonderful audience as well. We will catch up with you soon again for another exciting session. Thank you.